Welcome to the Spinfoil Theory podcast. Each week we sit down and discuss our favorite lore topics from within the Destiny universe. Specifically, we intend to take a close look at target questions and theories that have been nagging us and the Destiny community as a whole. To that end, our discussions tend to assume you already have some background knowledge of Destiny lore. Despite that, our goal is to be as lighthearted and welcoming as possible, though. So if you have any questions, please feel free to add us. Well, with that out of the way, let's dive into this week's lore topic. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is your host, Taylor B, with also host, LadyLucida. How you doing, Lucy?
Doing pretty good. I'm just vibing.
Hanging out. And a special guest host this week we have with us returning again, Mr. AnonPig. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing well. I realize I've just done it twice now, and there was a specific request not to say sir all the time.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
And I'm going to... I'm sorry?
Yeah. It's just silly hearing that be said in context to me. It's like, what?
It's funny.
I love your reaction because it's one of those things like, no, sir is my father.
Yeah.
You can call me Anon. But yeah, great. Lovely to have you back again on the show.
Good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with your return, you have brought a theory to us. You can't see it, but I'm doing like really cool hand motions in recognition of the really cool theory. Can you tell us all about it? This is a really cool one, so like get excited, all listeners.
Okay. Before I do, I just want to make sure of one thing really quick. I'm not supposed to be recording my own audio, right?
You are not. You're fine. I have a master going, and I've already confirmed levels before we started. So totally cool. Yeah, no, you're great.
I'm always like paranoid about that because I've had that happen once where long ago on a podcast we forgot to say record your own audio, and an entire episode was scrapped.
I was
like, God damn it.
I once had like 4 hours, 3 episodes back to back fucked because I didn't have levels from other people. And so it's like one of the things, I guess, like in like the opposite stance when you're just doing a master. And
yeah,
no,
exactly.
You're good though. I see you on the track. We are definitely recording. This is good.
Okay.
Hey.
But
That's good.
Yeah. So I actually I was playing today. I really tried to get it to make sure that it is actually obtainable in game, and it is. I was able to buy it off of Banshee. But a few weeks ago now, when going through just like all the lore entries from the items and the books and etc., I came across this one entry. It's on the Dia side, which is a reprised weapon. At least I'm pretty sure it's a reprised weapon.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is.
It's from Future War Cult.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually I think it's actually the second time Future War Cult weapons specifically, almost for no reason, have gotten, well, this has a reason, but almost for no reason has gotten updated weapons with lore entries. And so when I came across Deicide, it had just a big string of zeros and ones, and I was like, okay, well, that's absolutely binary. Like, before I even like read the text, there's so many zeros and ones, and I'm like, okay, let's see what that is. And the entry actually is from Anor from the Praxic Warlocks, sending a message to Ikora saying how this binary sequence has been like repeating in the Future War Cult networks and elsewhere, which is kind of ominous. And so when you take this binary and you put it into like a what's it called, ASCII converter?
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like binary to text.
Yeah, ASCII. Because that's how you would But yeah, it's a text, and so you convert it, and it is a repeating sequence of lowercase c, uppercase E, F, D, B, E, A, and then it repeats lowercase c, uppercase D, B, etc. And I was like, okay, well that's something else. Maybe it's. And I was thinking like, how encrypted could this thing be? But when I noticed it was actually repeating, I was like, okay, something can't just be like crazy decrypted if it's repeating a six letter sequence. And looking at the letters, I noticed they all are musical notes, and I was like, oh god damn it.
Oh
And so
no.
I just googled what are the notes to Savathun's song, and sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
C E F D B D E A is Savathun's song.
No.
Oh my! And I really want to call back when you notice the binary. I'm just imagining you like, oh, I see those octets.
That's
it's just
great. That's
it's just
great.
such a an obvious thing. Like binary encryption is it feels like one of the most obvious, easiest ways for something to be like hidden in plain sight so that anyone can look at it and be like, that's obviously binary. And it lets the writers have that little bit of fun where they're not just giving us the answer. They're just like literally just copy paste into Google, you'll figure it out.
We should work for it. I concur.
That's how it used to be back in the day. It'll work for everything. But
Oh,
uh
oh man, yeah. No,
and
going through all the cards and oh yeah,
yeah.
no, I spent so much more time than. Well, it's working out now. So you know what? Take it back.
Now you have books, they're collected for you, but it used to be grimoire cards. You would have like no idea related to what.
Yeah.
And then on another future war cult weapon, the stochastic variable, we actually have this is the second time we've seen future predictions from the future war cult device. And in these predictions, we see Lakshmi 2 seeing her being the hero that protects the city from the fallen. And in doing so, Zavala is gone, and she becomes the head of state over the city. So this is like her ambition, this is what she wants. And so if you have Savathun's song in Future World Networks, and you have Savathun who's in control of Quoria to some extent, like it kind of just throws a giant wrench into any future potential that Lakshmi is seeing, in my opinion. To
No, I
this
agree.
to the point that
Yeah.
it's like she's being manipulated by Savathun to make actions against people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either the second week or the third week, because I skipped the second week and I just did the 2 weeks back to back.
Okay.
But Mithrax on one of these second or third week has a line where he actually says, like, if Lakshmi's future viewing tech will show her that we're gonna walk together in peace, then I'm all for it.
I think
And
that was
it's
this
like,
week.
yeah, it's not though. And he even says it's almost like she's being like manipulated to fighting with us, with each other, stuff like that. Like he kind of like hints at that's exactly what's happening.
I mean, it
Yeah.
very, very surprisingly, especially after his acceptance of the crow,
Yeah.
Osiris
Yeah.
is so like against creatures that we really don't have a lot of lore that give him a lot of like interaction or opinion on. In this case, the Elixir of the Fallen.
Hmm.
Like I can't really before this season, I can't really think of a time he ever said two words about them.
Yeah,
And
no,
now
his
he's so
main
hardlined.
Yeah.
Like he follows Ikora's orders reluctantly. And all of a sudden now he wants to exterminate the Vex. Like completely erase them from time.
Hmm. That's kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, like he's always been saying the Vex are our biggest threat because
Hmm.
when I kind of agree a little bit, like once the reason why the Vex haven't like really done anything is because they can't really simulate paracausality. That's the one like leg up we have on them. Once they can do that, we're fucked.
Well,
We're
I mean,
screwed.
that's kind of been like a rising theme that slowly, more and more, they are gaining that understanding.
Yeah.
Like ever since I think it was Vanilla D2, there was the one adventure on Nessus where
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
says
yeah.
how they can't predict you, stuff
Mhm.
like that. But then it was like from that point on, it was like more and more. It's like they can almost predict you. They can predict you a little bit, like bit by bit.
Yeah.
So wild.
So that's what I'm worried. I'm worried that eventually the Vex will be able to predict us, and then
Mm-hmm.
because if you guys remember in the final shape in every other, this is if the darkness is telling the truth, which take it with a grain of salt, but in every other universe the Vex were the final shape. The Vex took over everything. So I'm just kind of worried. I'm just a little concerned about the Vex.
I actually wonder about what the final shape means in each universe slash timeline, because with the Vex especially, it gets used so interchangeably.
I guess that's true, yeah.
I actually wonder, because if we go back to Praedyth's ghosts that we recovered back in D1,
Oh yeah.
there are futures that ghost recorded where the Vex are working with humanity.
Is there?
There are, because it's ships leaving the last city, and you see humans, and the Vex are like working with them. They're like going off to fight something.
I don't recall the Vex being a part of that.
What lore entries? Which one is this?
Oh, I would have to. I can try to find it now. It's one of Praedyth's
It's
ghosts.
Mystery Vault of Glass 3.
Boom.
Ah.
The ships are battle scarred. Many are barely space worthy as warp drives wind down. Several seem to lose power and begin to drift. Some of the largest craft bear imagery familiar to frequent visitors to the tower, dead orbit symbols. The simple icon of the Vanguard, New Monarchy, Future Recall as well, though fewer examples can be seen. Actually, that's interesting. New Monarchy and Future Workhole as well, though fewer examples can be seen. So it's like Future Workhole's getting rubbed out.
Interesting.
Other bear symbols never seen. I don't see anything about the Vex.
I thought that was one of the features they had simulated, and I had assumed that meant we were cooperating, but maybe that was what's the term? Looking back on the entry with rose-colored glasses, because I don't want everyone to be our enemy when their whole thing is just trying to survive. But good call.
Well, it was in that mission, the Paradox, where we went to help the Vex because they were going to be defeated by the Taken, which is kind of like.
And so they reached out to us.
Ironic.
Yeah, we messed up. Like, the Taken were going to take him out. Oh well.
Well, there's different Vex minds too that have different things. Like I think at this point, after Garden of Sorrows, we pretty much eliminated those Vex who were worshiping the darkness. But then there's also
Soul Divisitive, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say there's another one. It's similar name, just with like
the
a
Sword
different
Divisive.
ending. Yeah.
They were the ones that worship the darkness. All the other the Vex subcategories, whatever the term is, they always like looked at them kind of like, yeah, you guys are weird. We don't really like you.
Didn't the Hezen
You guys are
Collective
weird.
and the Corrective also do that? I want to say those are the guys who did the Black Garden.
No, Corrective and Protective. They were the ones that were focused on protecting the outside of the Vault of Glass, the Protective, and the Corrective were the ones that were transforming Venus. They were like the Nexus Mind and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I remember.
that's where I recall them from D1. And it's the Soul. The Soul is the Black Garden one.
Well, the Soul Divisive is
Right.
in the Black Garden. The Soul Progeny and the Soul Imminent are inside the Vault of Glass. I think they're the Vex from the past and the future, respectively. And then there's Virgo Prohibition on Mars and the Aphix Invasive, which are kind of just doing their own thing. There was like 4 of them in D1.
Oh, speaking
I like the
of
look of the
D1,
precursors. I think they look cool.
The precursors. I always like
Those
how
are the white and gold ones.
Yeah, I always
Yeah,
like how they
that's
look new, and then the
primeval.
descendants look like really old. Like they're all
Yeah.
like covered in like moss and all this other stuff. But with the Vex, like timey wimey, maybe the precursors are from the future.
Time travel hurts my brain sometimes.
Well, and that's what makes me wonder. Like just circling back to what got me talking is I always felt that their goal wasn't so much in a taken sense to be the final shape of everything. It's that they wanted to complete the loop to the end of time because then they effectively last forever.
Yeah.
And what they're fighting for is that they can exist until the end of time, and then it just loops back to their earliest point, and they're just like living in that loop, doing Vexy shit. Like as long as they can survive, like because their base models are all construction models, which is really interesting to me, because so is the probability kiln the future war cult used to like circle everything back. Like that has its basis in the lore, if I'm not mistaken, in construction.
Yeah, because all of the Vex that we've seen so far, except I'm not sure about Wyverns, but a good majority of the Vex that we've seen so far have only been like, they're kind of just builders. They're kind of just doing their thing. Not really.
Well, the Vex,
Like, they're basically a bunch of construction workers attacking us with their power tools.
well, I always wonder if, outside of the mines that are like floating around and kind of doing their own thing, I always wonder what the original Vex that Crota cut out looked like. Because what we see now are all developed, I mean, in part in the inspiration from what like Quoria figured out before she was taken, or they were taken. I'm not sure about if I can gender a Vex mind, but that's like I feel like everything we see is based on that original sort of acceptance of sword logic for this timeline.
Maybe.
Well, if the Soul Primeval, if they were like the originators of the Vex, then that's what they've always looked like. Because they would have existed before the divergence to the Soul Divisive through Quoria.
Well, the thing that gets me, and I've gone over this before on the show, but and the thing that always gets me about the Vex is they can float fly. I can't think of any reason they would need to have legs unless they were imitating the Hive, who kneel and worship up the darkness and other things, I guess.
I dig it.
Like legs just
Yeah,
do
that
like
is odd.
especially bipedal legs. Like there's no way you can tell me an advanced artificial intelligence came up with like, no, 2 legs are good. This is no, we want 2 legs. This is no, flying's cool for some guys, but 2 legs over here.
Yeah, that is kind of odd.
Now
But
that
I
you,
mean-
now that you say that, it is kind of.
Like we know the Vex got their start on Volantis, like they had to have picked legs for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Exactly. And like there's nothing like bipedal movement is kind of like a happy accident. I've heard it described as like the act of controlled falling. And so yeah, like the idea that a robotic race, unless, well, I guess even like so, like yes, and the idea that maybe they would have it because they're built in something's image. But then I've always thought there was a lot of tautology between the shapes, especially back in D1 of the Vex and Hive like enemy units, especially when you get up to like Minotaurs and Knights. Boomer Knights just remind me of a Minotaur. They're almost the same thing, except the Minotaur has its shield up all the time.
You might be onto something there. That could be a whole nother episode.
I just can't imagine Vex exclusively making legs to worship, especially when the Soul Divisive are like the black sheep
The only ones.
in the Vex.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if everything that each of these minds that we're encountering on are based off that initial contact that was developed by Quoria, the first like war mind, like air quotes.
No, I'm saying there because if
Well, but
if the Soul Primeval are the original Vex,
Mhm.
then they existed before Quoria. They were the ones to and the Vex that made Quoria are called Brassy. So I mean that kind of sounds like the Hezen corrective protective,
Mhm.
which would have just been going through the motions of changing this planet. Also, because actually one of them got changed to gold in D2. I think protective got changed to gold instead
I
of
think so, yeah.
instead of
Like the more
brass.
bronze, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I'm sort of thinking my thought process here is that every
yeah.
Vex we
Protective
see.
got changed to gold.
I guess my thought process here is that every Vex that we see is for the purposes of combat, and that was the first successful model of combat that they were able to deploy, and so
Ah,
everything has been like predicated on that, almost like spaghetti code, if you will.
I mean, when you looked at the old Vex Grimoire cards, like their weapons, like what do they have? Line rifles.
Well,
Like the line
they're
rifles and
described
like
as
the
construction tools. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They're all talked about as construction, which makes sense because if you look at the Hezen Corrective, their whole purpose was exclusively just to go around converting planets to extend their network. Because
Hmm.
that's the Vex's end game. They're going to convert the entire universe into the Vex network, so they have absolute control of everything. Because that is being the final shape. The reason that doesn't work now is because the Traveler got sick of the Vex or beings such as the Vex because it was a time before the Vex existed. Beings such as the Vex winning, becoming the final shape, it was like, screw this, I'm gonna put myself in the game, make the light, and then the winnower is like, well, screw you, I'm gonna come in the game and make the dark. So the Vex
Hmm.
had to adapt, you know.
I
They existed before the concept of light and dark was known to them, and then they adapted in making the soul divisive to worship the dark
mhm.
and soul divisive in the soul progeny.
I would only offer that I guess what this thought process has me going down is sort of hinges on the fact that they're a network and also that they're time travelers. So the idea that something is spread and these Vex potentially exist before this gamble is cut. We know that it's used in relays. We know that it goes through confluxes. We know it's set up. I mean, at least in bare bones, very much like real world information networks.
Hmm.
Just with paracausal or at least like time bending properties to them. And so I always wonder what type of signal is it something they have to build or is it something they can track? Can they go back to the beginning of something because they can find it on a map or a directory that's looking for that kind of thing? Because they were doing that in real time when they first spilled into this universe.
that's true.
They were rebuilding and correcting themselves from the other side of the gate.
Well, well, they've always been in this universe from when they created themselves, when they evolved to what they are.
Well, they were first brought in by Crota into this
No,
timeline, at least. That's the earliest
no,
mention of them.
they were first brought into Oryx's throne by Crota.
That's what that's in this, but like that's I mean, like I see your point, but I guess I was getting at like ultimately that's what led because then after that we have like a air quotes timeline. We have established events that the Vex have done.
Yeah, I understand that logic. I remember because actually I was in line at GameStop waiting for Taken King to come out, reading the Books of
Mm-hmm.
Sorrow, and I
Mm-hmm.
was reading that bit where Crota cut open the portal and the Vex came out and etc.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my initial interpretation was that that's how the Vex entered our universe, that they came from somewhere else. But with everything that we have now, knowing about Volantis, 2077 or whatever the hell it's called, we know that they have existed, and from the unveiling book, for example, I mean, they, like I said before, they weren't the Vex at the time, but when the board was flipped over, metaphor, into the beginning of the universe, the Vex, the things that became the Vex were among those. They were born into the universe in the universe's inception. That's why Volantis is one of the oldest stars in the universe, and it's still alive today because the Vex made the Star Forge out of it.
Yes, and so not counterpoints to anything you just said. Yes, and in the same way that there is, I think, a reasonable argument that Crota, depending on where he ended up on the other end of that same time gate, at the end of that story, could be the oldest of the Hive court, Oryx's court, even older than Oryx. He would have existed, but like he could potentially have existed before he was born, and was carving his way through our universe. My only yes and to that is I feel like when you, especially like and to Lucy's point, like time travel makes my brain hurt. I feel like once you bring that into it, until we know how they do it, and not to do like a stupid anything is possible like type thing, I feel like it's a narrative that's still going to follow some sort of logical course.
Mm-hmm.
For what that's worth, I feel like there's still that possibility that is their like catalyst, like even if it's just into this like timeline, and going back to the interchangeability, they could still exist in the universe at the beginning of time. But that's like the starting point of how they spilled into this one.
I always liked how Tevis explained the Vex's time travel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My favorite explanation of time travel though still has to come from in the exotic bow from last season, where the two Cabal legionnaires.
Oh, Tiku's divination.
Yeah, Tiku's divination. Yeah. The two legionnaires are talking about it, and just like, so it hits every time, yeah, because it reworks it from a timeline where it hit. What if it doesn't hit? Then yeah, it didn't hit that time.
Yeah, but it always hits.
Yeah. Like
that was such a trolly time bullshit.
60% of the time it works every time. I enjoyed it. But yeah, going back to sort of like bring this back around, that being at very least that standpoint of when that tear is like open and then closed when Coria is taken and then given to as a gift to Savathun. I actually really wonder, like, if they're able to do this, like pull a Mr. Burns and block out the sun for the last city, like how much of their influence has been in the Vex network all along with some of the things we've been dealing with, because there's so many instances of the Vex, it being a network, like these minds operating, these like, like minds and subminds operating like independently at different locations. There's not a whole, aside from this season, I haven't really felt that there's ever been a reference to the greater network or like greater direction. Like, because there's even Vex who want to be your buddy.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the main objective of the Vex is just to write themselves into the fabric of the universe.
I kind of agree with Mithrax from, I think I heard it last week, but I definitely heard it again this week, where he's just talking about like, yeah, like you're sitting here talking about trying to assure their annihilation, and you wonder why they fight so hard to assure yours. Like,
Yeah,
maybe...
I think that was in response to Osiris saying he wants to completely use like what we're doing in Override and Expunge to completely destroy the Vex network.
God, where the hell was it? Was it idolatry?
So, as far as Quarry getting inside the future war cult network, it always makes me wonder if maybe there's some correlation in like how do these probability engines and kilns keep coming through from construction equipment? Like, it makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense. I feel like if you can use it for that, how did no one think to do that in the first place? How was everyone super ethical? Like, no, just for construction.
Yeah.
Super
I'm not
surprising.
sure.
I don't know. Sorry, random thought. But in getting back to getting into the future war cult thing, do you think that coincided and all? Because that song that is in the binary is also, I think, as Lucy you pointed out to me some time ago, that's what the crow hums.
Mm-hmm. The crow hums it from time to time. We have Shax singing the song to the tune of Savathun's song.
He openly sang it and said it was Eris that taught it to him, and Eris never did that.
So, that's not good.
No.
This is very not good.
Well, do you think there's any correlation? Like, when do you think that infiltration was made? Like, do you think there's any correlation between the crow coming to the last city?
Possibly.
I would say no.
Maybe? I don't know. Are you saying the crow is Savathun? No.
Well, I mean, Shax learned that song from Eris back, or at least he told it to us back in Shadowkeep, so he had to have learned it before Shadowkeep, which potentially means he learned it before Crow was even revived.
True.
So
Crow's not Savathun, someone else's.
Well, I didn't mean to say Crow was Savathun, but maybe Crow was like, maybe not like in a full-on like influence, but just maybe like in a sort of like telegraphed
way. I'm wondering
if
Crow is still under the influence. Maybe not like
not against us,
mind-controlled, but like...
Yeah, maybe he's been tapped. Maybe like someone can like hear what he hears or like something like that.
Possible.
There it is. There, I've been trying to find the damn thing that said it. I just could not find it. Yeah, the Vex's whole deal, it's from Atheon Times Conflux. The Vex may seek to transcend a physical substrate and move their thoughts directly into the fundament of the universe. If physics is a set of rules, the Vex seek to worm their way into these calculations to become a law of reality inseparable from existence. Yeah.
Fun!
Yeah. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's really interesting. A virus in the system, which is absolutely what Savathun's song is.
Ooh. Okay. Because I want to say the Vex's plan sounds like the tragic end to an episode of The Twilight Zone, where like the universe just ended up being that guy. Like he is like everything is him, and he is everything. And it just like pans out in space, and it's just like him everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is every molecule. Which that sounds so wild. It's one thing to want to like not die and want to persist, which is definitely how I perceived them coming into this conversation. But it's sort of another to want to
write yourself into the fabric of the universe. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Well, it just makes me wonder.
There's another thing.
I'm sorry.
There was another thing about Oryx had a very similar stance to that as well.
Yeah, I remember I think he said that when he was first, after he met the Vex for the first time, he's like, finally, a worthy opponent.
Yeah. Like his whole deal was like all existence, all life will exist because I will it to exist. And in his way, becoming the final shape is to be the last living thing in the universe because you define what gets to live if you're the only thing living, whereas the Vex's final shape is to preserve the universe in their own image.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hearing it that way, I had always interpreted what the Vex wanted was to persist,
Mm.
and what I've been wondering, like to that end, before what you guys before what you just said, was just sort of like I wonder what in their criteria of persistence like makes everything a threat because they don't. As Ikora said, the Vex aren't the Radiolaria, so they're obviously able to be symbiotic with something.
Hmm.
And I don't necessarily understand what that relationship is, but like they don't destroy every being, every organism.
Yeah. That was something odd about the whole Nessus deal because like Nessus was supposed to be one of the few planets that we went to that was like fully converted by the Vex, and it's like all life on Nessus was eradicated and it's entirely Vex. And then you go to Nessus and it's like, well, there's trees and there's frogs and like there's all this
Yeah.
natural life existing on the planet that isn't supposed to have it. And the trees kind of can work because the trees are Vex trees. They have data or whatever in them. I could see that being an example, but to have animals like organic life spawning on your own planet, that seems odd.
Well, even in the Vault of Glass, those birds are still there. The flat
Oh yeah, well,
birds.
not in the Vault of Glass, on Venus.
Yeah, sorry.
What interests me is I always thought, at least now that we can go back into the Black Garden, I always thought that Nessus was almost kind of made to look kind of like the Black Garden a little bit, because you got the red and the I mean, obviously it's going to be similar architecture because it's the Vex, but I don't know. That's just how I always had looked at it. Because, I mean, the Black Garden has trees. Well, not trees, but like plants and little tiny trees.
Yeah.
The grove off in the
So
distance.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say like when you look off into the distance in the Black Garden back in D1, like all those red leaves could just as easily be a canopy as it could be like a field.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, the fact that we can, because of Garden of Salvation, now we can go kind of go back to the Black Garden. And it's definitely a lot greener. And it
Yeah.
really reminds me of, like, Nessus. So that's kind of why I got that connection, I guess? I don't know.
I can dig it. I can dig it. I really like the idea, the different ideas of the Vex. Kind of going back to what we talked about earlier. That even in this stance, that they're going to convert the like make a final shape
Mm-hmm.
that comes after their interaction with orcs. At least as far as we know. Or maybe they're like combative philosophies that had been there the whole time. But it's so interesting because even when they're not worshipping the darkness, if that's their overall goal, they're really not so different from the Hive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Hive being a more organic version, but like they're kind of like a cancer. They're something that forgets to die and then causes everything else to to die as it persists.
I think they're the Vex and the Hive, they're similar, but I don't think, because I think what the Hive want to do is they just want to kill everything. But the Vex, they want to literally, I mean, they both kind of want to do the same thing, but they're just different ways about doing it, I guess. Because the Hive just want to kill everything, or the Vex just want to convert everything. It's kind of the... But they still both ultimately want the same thing, but they're in opposition with each other because they both want to be number one. There's only one number one spot, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, because the Hive specifically entirely follow the deep, the darkness, the pyramids, whatever the case may be. And as the Nine showed us, what the darkness wishes to see the universe as is everything is dead, everything is rotting, and so when the Hive are trying to emulate the darkness and learn the secrets of the deep, and like when Oryx says he's going to follow the deep wherever it goes and chart the path of the grave worlds, and that's going to be our key to victory, blah, 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 all that stuff. It's a matter of like watching the darkness killing things themselves, because when he is the last living thing, he is in his, I'd assume even in the Hive's mind, at the end of the day, they're going to kill everyone except themselves. It's just until they get to that point, everyone's allowed to live. And I guess every thrall is like, yeah, and then I'll kill Oryx at the end of everything.
Oh no. Oh no.
That has to be what's going through their heads, right?
That has to. They're like, I'll get strong enough and kill God.
Yeah,
and
yeah. By the end, I'll kill Oryx. It's like, okay, buddy.
You do you, little thrall. You do you.
I'm gonna be.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, though. It's really interesting to see how the Hive, like, have kind of changed, because we have, Savathun's now offshoot of the Hive, versus what we originally saw in Destiny 1 with Oryx, and how, like, Oryx was pretty, straightforward with the sword logic, while Savathun's kind of like, well, I think this whole worm deal is garbage. I'm gonna try and weasel my way out of it. And meanwhile, Xivu Arath is like, blood for the blood god, war everywhere.
Yeah.
She scares me. Like, man.
She seems so about it. She seems so
just
about
so
the fight.
just
Like, oh, like, I just have to fight and I live forever. Like, fuck yeah, sign me up. Like,
sign me
already
up,
ate
as long
the worm.
as there's... Yeah. But the issue is, if Xivu Arath kills too much, then there's nothing for her to kill, and then she'll die.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't even think. How are the Hive not realizing that their whole plan is to be the last living thing in the universe, and it's like cool. And then when you do that,
I think Savathun realized that, because I remember in the Book of Sorrows, she talked to Oryx about it, and she was all like, "Hey, I don't think this was a good idea, but
yeah,
we're kind of fucked. We're kind of screwed right now."
Well, they're only screwed if the Traveler stops moving.
Yeah.
well, I mean, if say we never killed Oryx, if Oryx got what he wanted and he effectively killed every living thing in the universe, and then he turned his sword onto his children and his sisters and etc., and he was the last living creature, his worm would eat him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Hive, their whole plan is, we're gonna be the last things in the universe, but
I wonder if at
they
that point
forget that their worm needs them to constantly kill. So they're screwed.
Well,
they're
I'm sorry.
unless they can do what Savathun's doing and get rid of their worm, or not doing, but trying to figure out how to do.
Yeah.
They're all gonna die.
So
They didn't think it through.
They didn't. They really didn't. They were so desperate to get off Fundament and live more than 10. I think the lifespan was, 10 years?
10 years, unless you became a mother, and then you can live longer.
it's like 20.
That's
yeah.
nuts. Unless they could figure out... They were just so desperate to live that they didn't realize the ramifications of their actions.
Well, I mean, yes, and I also feel like
I'll be right back.
there is a large blinding about revenge with that, because if they didn't try to actually like kill the traveler and just like followed it around like accepting the gift mask, they could effectively, as long as they didn't overconsume, I guess, like live forever.
But then it gets to the point where it doesn't matter how, like, their worm is just gonna get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier no matter how much they eat. It's like your stomach's a black hole.
It reminds
No matter
me.
no matter how much food you put in the black hole with a stomach, it's not gonna be full. That's because like in Truth to Power, I know Truth to Power is not exactly a reliable source of information, but Savathun used a black hole to try and slow down the hunger of a worm, but the worm was like, I see through your tricks. I see through your lies. I'm speeding it up. Amp it up to 11. I'm still hungry.
I'm sorry.
So, like, I don't know. That's the Hive's biggest problem, is that they're in a catch-22. They want to kill everything. But if they kill everything, they're also gonna die. So, I'm just curious to see how everything's gonna play out. With Savathun, especially, because she's trying. She's like, there's gotta be a way to get rid of this parasite, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
On that note, to loop this all back around, I swear this hasn't been crazy rambling.
No, it has.
No.
I failed.
Anon, Lucy. Do you guys think this infection by Korea with Savathun's song inside the Vice Network, and to the original theory, Lakshmi's attitudes this season, language this season? Because I mean that speech she gives to the last city this week was very like xenophobic and almost fascist.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, this isn't a democracy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I think you're just trying to rile everybody up. This isn't gonna go well at all. Not even a little bit.
So do you think that getting us to kill each other to infight in this way?
Well,
Do you think that could be part? Because as we noted, and like spoiler alert, I think this might be available in story now, but like spoiler alert, put earmuffs on if you're like real strict. As we noted in our episode, Lucy, she's come into the city, and her worm is hungry.
yeah. It's in the, hold on. It's in the Beneath the Endless
Right.
Night.
So my thought here is just like, do you think part of how she feeds her worm is beyond secrets and lies, like what have you?
We're on week 3, right? Sorry.
I want to say yeah. Do you think it's
Okay, 4, 5, 6.
Do you think
In about
it's
4 weeks, we'll get the
okay?
actual
So
lore
4
entry.
weeks spoilers. Sorry everyone. But do you think there's some veracity in the idea that getting her enemies like infighting and
Well, yeah, if it's
fighting
all
each other is like
deception,
part of
that's
how
just
she like
gonna
feeds
like
her worm?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, we've all read all of the lore this season, so yeah. I think so. I think she's basically doing this whole, I guess, this misinformation campaign or making us all fight each other in the last city. And it's all just a big misunderstanding then she's just deceiving us. Then I think this is basically, she's just trying to hold out while she figures out a way to get rid of her worm. That's her whole thing right now. She's trying to hold out.
So I agree she's trying to get rid of her worm just based on her previous statements and everything about
Yeah.
her attitude towards the worm. I wouldn't necessarily say that this moment right now though she's trying to get rid of it, because when I am not a fan of like perpetuating Savathun theories, like legitimately perpetuating Savathun theories. Like I'll joke about them all the time, but
Yeah, no, I get that.
when I see one and I'm like, could this actually be something that Savathun is doing? I'm like, no, don't even get into it. Don't even try. Savathun's too complicated for the sake of being complicated. That it's just not even worth putting the effort in. But when I saw the link to deicide and stochastic variable and her song in the future workload networks and the stuff with Quoria, it kind of made me realize last season of the Chosen, everything that happened because Savathun knocked over a domino, which led Umunarath to worshipping Zivu-Arath and summoning her to Torabottle. And that made Title more like, or unlike every other Cabal, where she was like, I've learned some humility, like my entire planet just got easily taken over by a single Hive entity. Clearly, we are not strong enough to fight them. And instead of coming to Seoul and trying to just kill everyone, she, as quietly as possible, tried to just be like, "Hey, Zavala and Guardians, can you guys help us out?" Like, because obviously
Can
she
we be
can't
friends?
say that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like Savathun kicked off this. What'd they call it? Armistice,
Yeah.
Right.
whatever
Yeah,
the hell it's called.
basically the ceasefire, the truce,
Yeah,
or whatever.
the ceasefire between Cabal and Guardians is because Savathun kicked over that domino, and now you have the Fallen in the city, and that's because the Vex put the network, the simulation of the Endless Night over the city, which is apparently being run by Quoria. If that was Quoria in the first week's mission where you go in the network, when you can turn around, you see a taken Hydra, which
Yeah, you see a
is
big
most like
giant.
Quoria.
Yeah.
So she does that, and that makes us partner with the Fallen, and it's like a convenient way.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, so Savathun kind of nudged us to become allies with the Cabal, and now she's again nudged us to become allies with the Fallen. I just wonder, like, we know that she doesn't like the darkness.
Yeah.
So I guess my theory is that she's doing all of this so we have an actual, like, fighting chance against the darkness. I don't know.
Well, so I disagree with that
You
because so
disagree.
then
Okay.
in Arrivals, when we're getting stasis powers, Savathun was like, "I don't like that. Like, I don't like that you're getting stasis powers." That actually seemed to have concerned her to the
Yeah,
point
no, she
where it's
was
like,
really like throwing taken at us.
yeah. And she was like, "I don't want that. I don't want you to have these powers. I want to be able to kill you still." And it almost felt like if she believed if we learned stasis, we would not be easily killable. And so in
That's
Arrival,
true,
she
that's
tried to
true.
stop us. And now, so Cabal Domino kicked over, Elixir Domino kicked over. Now we're all just kind of like sitting here, and she's got this new domino that's kicking over this season. I don't think we're going to even see it go into full effect this season. We're going to see it go into effect next season when Lakshmi and her xenophobe faction are just like all out against the Elixir alliance and the Cabal truce, and it's going to
Yeah.
completely weaken our forces because we're going to be divided amongst ourselves. And then
Ooh,
Whip King
that's
kicks
true,
off.
that's true. I didn't think about that. That's true. I didn't think about that. That's true. I don't know. I'm not really sure if Savathun wants us to destroy the darkness or just wants to basically bicker and fight among ourselves so that we're super weak, so then she can just be like, "Sup, I'm here to kick ass and take names."
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think she sees the threat that we are, and she she can't take us on head on or she'll lose. So
So she has
she's
to like
trying to
weaken us.
group it all together.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Get all your
sense.
ducks in a row, do it in one fell swoop. One
Mm.
thing that makes me wonder about her endgame is I agree with you guys. She wants to ultimately get the worm out, right? What
Yeah, I
Yeah.
correlation?
think so.
What correlation does she identify between the worm gods and the darkness, as in the pyramid ships? Does she know about that we don't? Because there's a missing piece there for us. We know obviously they're minions of the darkness, and like there is a dotted line there.
Well, when they made the worm pact to access dark powers, they had to
Mm-hmm.
go through the worms, and that's why Oryx killed Akka to bypass that step and commune directly with the deep. And so a lot of the terminology that they use, they say the deep that is dark, they talk about the deep moving, about Oryx going into the deep, being trapped in the deep, and it sounds like Oryx is going into a pyramid ship. And so Savathun now is communing with the deep, which means she has also filled that space where she no longer needs to communicate through the worm gods.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how I
Well,
would
but
see it.
I guess my hmm, I guess my wonder here is though, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but Oryx killing Akka was the worm god they worshipped who first gave them one to ingest. That was not his worm. And so he never escaped the pact. He just
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying
yeah.
Oryx escaped the pact. I'm saying part part of the pact is that the worm gods in the hierarchy of things, it went like the deep, the worm gods, the hive. By killing Akka, Oryx was able to
Yeah.
ascend that next step to be on level with the worm gods by the sword logic that they proposed, saying you kill, you're equal to or slash better than. So Oryx was able to just jump straight to communication with the deep, and that's how he got his taken abilities when he communed with the deep directly.
So dig this, and I'm picking up what you're putting down. Where I'm coming from is we've also killed a worm god, and we were
If
also
you
laughed
look,
at for the idea that we thought we killed a worm god by Toland.
yeah,
And so, because he hasn't escaped his contract, because he hasn't, like, I wonder if this, if the worm god's whole thing is they can teach you how to hide your death, like ultimately teach you how to defy, um, uh, nature and persist, defy, or persist with decay. No, it's defy decay. But like, why would the first trick they teach you not be one that they know? Like, he didn't go to like
I'm
its
not
throne.
sure I follow.
Well, he didn't go to the worm's throne world.
No,
He killed it in I want to say the fundament. He went back
well, I
there.
Well,
mean,
I'm
they
pretty
should
sure
have
Oryx
escaped the
killed.
fundament.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Oryx went to Akka's throne world and killed Akka there. Pretty sure. Maybe. I might be wrong.
I didn't interpret it as a throne world, but that I'm willing to be wrong on that too. But it just seems so, because with the whole pyramid scheme that are the hive. I basically what I want to get at is that if that, like, ultimately Savathun is able to get out of her worm contract, do we think that necessarily that means she wants to stop wielding darkness powers? that she wants to distance herself from the deep, necessarily.
It seems like she just wants to distance herself from the worms, which are
Yeah,
separate from the deep.
Yeah, the worms don't necessarily mean the darkness. They're different. Yeah.
that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily say that he killed Akka in the Akka's ascendant plane, quote unquote. It says, in the cold abyss of the sword world, King Arash walked under a cloak of green fire. He walked until he found Akka, the worm of secrets, who was denying a truth until it became a lie. So, I read that as if the cold abyss of the sword world. That made me think of Ascendant Plane, Throne Worlds.
The Ascendant Plane. Yeah.
Like he was just walking through the Ascendant Plane. At least that's how I read it. I don't know.
So if we're to believe that the Zol that we killed was a worm god, then
Which I don't, but
I mean, no matter what though, even if not that, because then at the end of the entry that you're reading, then he went out into the universe and fought the Ecumen with his tablets, and the worm, his god, was pleased. So even
Yes.
after Akka's death, Akka is still very much alive in some ethereal state. And so similarly to Zol, killing Zol wasn't like going against Zol's wishes. Their kind of goal was to be killed because that finalizes some secret pact that they have that you don't even know you're agreeing to when you kill them. So why did the worms teach the Hive about how to hide their deaths? Because that's what the Hive wanted to learn. They wanted to learn how to live forever. The worms don't do that because that goes against what is good for them, which is to be killed by someone strong enough to then finish that pact.
yeah, because like with Zol, for example, Zol ended up becoming Whisper of the Worm, and now technically we still. Every kill we get with Whisper, I think, technically feeds Zol. Technically speaking. So, don't use Whisper of the Worm anymore, guys.
So hey, who is that other guy who, when learning a Hive song, got killed? And
I mean, Toland listened
ascended.
to. It was Toland. Toland was the one who sang.
And I'm not saying it's the same thing. Sorry, just before I realized how that sounded. I guess overall, what I'm getting at is to your point, Anon. Yes, they taught him that because that's what they want to 100% agree. Where I was coming from was sort of the other point you touched upon, is that like it pleased his god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I don't think Akka's gone, and it would be the first example of someone dying in the Ascendant realm, but not their throne world, and being able to come back. Both the other two Hive siblings that weren't orcs.
They die just because they die in the Ascendant Plane, doesn't mean they have to die in their throne world. Like on,
Yeah.
I like using the analogy of the Ascendant Planes. The Sea of Screams is basically a map. And you have all these little islands on the map, and each island is like a throne world. So you have Oryx. Oryx has a big, giant island, because, he's one of the Pantheon Hive.
And then he turned it
Then you got
inside out.
Toland over here with this little desert island with the one little tiny palm tree.
I feel like Toland's ball of light is his island, and he attached some balloons and a little propeller on the back, and he's just
Pretty much. But yeah,
seeing all the sights.
that's kind of how I look at it, and basically, basically. I don't know.
For
And you have to die on your island to like actually die. That's kind of how I visualize it, I guess, when I'm reading it. Anything about the Ascendant Planes?
Yeah, I mean that's basically confirmed because just 2 entries before the one that you were just reading, Oryx kills both of his sisters, and everyone gets hung up on that, and they were true death, or they happened in the Sword World. And then you go, I think it's 2 entries past the one you just read, 3, 4, 5. okay, like 6 centuries past. This love is war, and then Savath. This is Zivu's perspective. Savathun and I conspired to strand Oryx on his expedition. Oh, never mind, that's the wrong line. Obligations. I once permitted Oryx to kill me so that he could gain the sword logic to overcome Akka, our god. This left me trapped deep in my throne.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. Yeah, like people don't. A lot of people get hung up on that and don't. I've had to correct a lot of people on that. So
they love that Oryx performed trickery and thus Savathun was reborn. So Oryx can be reborn. It's like, no, Oryx is forever dead.
You know,
His
he done.
there's no way he's coming. Yeah, there's no
He's
way.
Dunions.
Yeah,
He's
his
done so.
performing trickery, his performing war, that is just how a hive is pulled from their throne world, which is why when Amunarath summoned Zivu, she began that war. She was killed by Keitel. That was summoning Zivu.
That's
And-
war. Yeah, you use war to summon
Yeah.
Zivu Ara.
Idiot.
And then the other great example is Crota is the Eater of Hope. And how did they try to summon Crota? They had his hand, his might, his eyes, and his will all terrorizing the Cosmodrome and messing stuff up, making everyone go, "Oh shit, Crota's coming back." Like making everyone hopeless for the future. And they almost brought him back.
Yep. They were his.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree.
Yeah, wasn't it his? It was back in the Taken King. Wasn't that his sisters were performing the ritual with his like soul crystal thing?
Yeah, that was. See,
Yeah.
that's where I get. There's at least with like the new canon. I guess not new canon, but the stuff that's Forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
With how ascendant planes work, how like once a person dies, their ascendant plane kind of poof, kind of starts dematerializing.
Well, I mean, that was you're talking about the what's his face, the Mindbender Phylax.
Well, the Mindbender, and then in the lore for the for Mara,
Oh, yeah.
how Mara escaped
Mhm.
Oryx's ascendant plane, and how it started like getting all kinds of like destroyed, and then her ascendant plane being all kind of falling into the Sea of Screams. But then you go back to D1 with Crota, and Crota's ascendant plane is fine, and I'm just like,
Well, he still
I
had
mean, I guess
he still had children and stuff. I think persisting in it that maybe didn't have.
Yeah.
I
their
guess that's
own-
true. I
yeah.
guess, yeah. That's kind of how I always thought about it. Like, I was like, maybe through some.
yeah,
My
because
headcanon
Mara
was basically that, like, the Hive ritual they were doing was stabilizing enough for that. Then, after they all left, then it would just fall into the Sea of Screams. That's how I thought of it. Because I was like, I couldn't really think of a rational reason, I guess. Because he's dead. It should have, like, already started falling apart, crumbling, crying.
because Mara's throne wasn't falling apart because of her lack. It was falling apart because Oryx
Right,
trampled
right.
through it.
Right. Or it's
And-
like, ooh, free stuff.
And
True,
Oryx's
true.
throne began to collapse because when we killed him, we didn't fill the vacuum. So
Okay.
at least that's
okay.
how I've always perceived it. We didn't fill the
No,
vacuum.
that makes sense.
Well, his
And
his,
so-
Makes sense.
his had a unique
Yeah.
unique issue because like after he died, he actually floats. I should rewind a little
Towards
bit.
Saturn.
His was very well, yeah, towards Saturn. But before I talk about that, like I just for sake of listeners who might not know, Oryx's throne world was the Dreadnought. He turned it inside out so that he could travel through it, like in real space. And when we
And it's
killed
not like
him,
it's not still there.
It exactly, but when we killed him, he floated out into real space. I feel like the fact that his throne world wasn't in the ascendant plane, and the fact that we had cut in the pyramid scheme that is the Hive, we had cut so many major pillars of his own tithing to make him weak enough so that we could kill him. That I think differently than Crota. Crota, we just cut off the top branch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially made like smaller pyramids or just like a pyramid that like is like wondering where the top is. Whereas with Oryx, like no, we started from the base and worked our way up and left like a much larger void
Definitely, yeah. That's the only way we were able
Well,
to beat Oryx was
we
because
did
we
the same
took
thing
out
with
his
Crota.
court. I mean, yeah, we did. We did take out.
We took out his eyes, his might, his hand, his will.
Right.
We killed all the people, all the important figures who were tithing to Crota. And then by the time that we got to Crota, we had to hit him with his sword. That was his whole shtick. That in his throne world, only something of his throne could damage him. And then once you removed that barrier of protection, you were just able to light him up with Galahorn, or the other way around. However the hell it went.
And I hear that, but I just mean like subsequently we found out we also like didn't kill his daughter, who was able to construct the Red Keep. There might be some connection to the Deep, the pyramid ship down there, because our moon, where that pyramid ship is also where his throne world was.
Well, his throne world
The
wasn't
entrance,
actually.
sorry,
in the moon.
yeah, but like the entrance, like the
There
upside
was just
down
a
version
keyhole.
of the moon. I still like to play with the idea. I don't know how much veracity there is to it, but I still like to play with the idea that Luna, before it was Luna, whatever it was before it collided with primordial Earth, was one of his war moons, or his war moon.
Yeah, that's what I used to say, because it just seems weird that it's like, the collapse happens and the moon just rips open and hives start pouring out and shit. It's like, what the hell is happening?
And before the collapse happens, I feel like this may have been retcon now, but like there were things in those tunnels in the moon,
Yeah,
taking out
yeah.
Golden Age guys.
Well, that was during the
Sorry.
collapse.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was during the
it?
collapse. That was
Also
during
scary.
but it was the K1
But I mean,
research.
the caverns were there before
Yeah.
the collapse, no matter what.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought that-
definitely.
What I'm thinking of is different than the K1 stuff, and I agree with you guys. This is an argument, but like I'm thinking of those cards back in D1, where it's
No,
like
that
those
was
guys who
K1.
get picked. That was also K1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, groovy. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
It's
Yeah.
all connected. It's all connected.
Ugh.
Yeah, whatever the creatures were that were on the moon. And so that's another thing. Everyone always says that the creatures on the moon were like Ahamkara, or they were worms, because what's that really dark room that you fought Crota's soul in?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
The
about.
that
Chamber
one.
of Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the big bones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
The
so the
worm-looking
big bones in D1, you could scan them, and Ghost mentions how like it's unknown if this was a creature that the Hive like enslaved or anything. And it's like, so basically no one knows what the hell the big creepy crawlies were. Like even our Ghost doesn't know what they were. And so the caverns were there. There were caverns being dug beneath our moon by some alien life that we just never knew. But it was during the collapse, because before the collapse, the K1 team found the artifact, and that had already started deteriorating their brains. And then the collapse happened. The Hellmouth rips open in front of them, and they decide, let's check it out. And then they die.
What's
Yeah.
the worst that could happen? Death.
Yeah. No, that's a pretty worst that could happen. Not going.
Yeah, I would agree though that the difference with Crota's throne existing is that, like you said, he had his daughter Hashladun and the other two. They were all there, they were still existing. They were trying to fill the role that Crota left. It makes sense that they were holding his throne stable, whereas no one was doing that for Oryx, despite the fact that we did for both of them take them out from the base up. Because like with Crota we took out his eyes, his might, his hands, etc. And with Oryx we basically destroyed the entire what do you call it, the high war cult, the high war court.
Yeah, his
like that.
court.
Yeah, the High Court. Yeah. The Court of Oryx. Although my favorite Court of Oryx is still the basketball court.
Yes, I love that in
The High
in
War.
King's Fall. Yeah, the High War is what his
Yeah.
court, just like Savathun's court is called the High Coven.
Yeah.
And then Zivareth doesn't have one. She's like war, bloodshed.
Mhm.
Yeah, my
love Zero. She's
my
so
world
funny.
is my court. Wherever there is war.
It would seem like Yeah, I wonder if just war happening can summon her, but if that just like kind of like feeds her worm in some way, whether she's part of it or not.
Apparently, it feeds her worm because that's what she said to the Cabal.
Well, groovy.
So, like, any war anywhere is helping feed her and her worm. And if a war is big and loud and bloody enough, she might just appear and kill both sides.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, hey guys, thanks for calling
Oh.
me here. You're both
Pretty
dead.
much. Pretty much. It's just like all the fighting, and then it's ring a ring. Look who's here, Ziva
Yeah.
Wrath.
Literal
fun.
god of war.
That reminds me of just the end of the '95 Mortal Kombat movie. And, like they think everything's cool, and then Shao Kahn just like rips the top off the temple and is like, "You fools! I've come for your souls." All right,
It's great.
if you have, I was gonna say, if you haven't seen it, go, like, it's so much better than the recent one, just in my opinion. Just putting that out there, but it's a fun one. Yeah. We got on a lot of little paths, but I think they all really fit back into the central idea of what Savathun's doing. In a way, yeah, like it's a little like, as we get on this show, like down the different tangents, but like, the motivations as to why the Hive or Savathun specifically would even be doing that.
Understanding more than one enemy
Yeah.
helps you understand all of them, type of
Mhm.
deal.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's all been like, like at the end of the story where you're like, oh yeah, it did all mean something. Like, yeah, I think we've covered a lot of important parts for it. So guys, let's do a score on this theory.
Score. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's score this theory.
Let's do a
So,
score.
going back all the way.
All the way
I got on
back.
a little bit of a tangent there about the Hive, but that's partly my fault because I think the Hive are the coolest.
I mean, it's about Savathun. She is
I mean,
Hive.
yeah, so it does relate. See, I like
you
your
can't
thinking.
you can't
It
talk
does
about Savathun without talking about the history of what their
Mhm.
deal is.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Savathun's
Okay,
already
so
too complicated.
it all works out. It all works out. So basically, the theory is Savathun is in control of the Vex network or just the future war cult themselves.
I mean, I
She's
wouldn't go so
infiltrated
far
the
as to say
future
that she's in
war cult
control of the
network.
Vex network, but she's got her fingers in everything. She
Yeah,
because that's what
definitely.
they said at the beginning of maybe not at the beginning of Beyond Light, but like shortly into Beyond Light, they said like Savathun has a bunch of dominoes and they're going to begin to fall over, and then you're going to finally understand it all when Witch Queen comes, and it's like Season of the Chosen, Savathun knocking over a domino. Season of the Splicer, Savathun knocking over a domino. Next season, that final domino, which is going to give her the prime time to strike for Witch Queen, and it's because
Definitely.
she has influence on the Vex network, which is therefore influencing Lakshmi, which is therefore influencing the relationship between the humans, the Cabal, and the Elixni. It's such an all-encompassing nonsense.
I like it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I like it. Okay. How about you, Lucy? How are your closing thoughts on the?
Yeah, no,
theory?
I definitely agree. I think that, yeah, I think the dominoes are tipping, and it's all gonna come together. I think probably, I would say like next season, if not Witch Queen itself, definitely is probably where everything's gonna come together. Being like, hey, as the result of everything you just did, look at this. Look at this mess. This is a mess. It's terrible. That's how I think.
would-
But no, I don't
Sorry.
know. Go ahead.
You just kind of made me think of something. I would actually love to see as kind of like opposed to Beyond Light, because it's almost like without a doubt that we're going to get another darkness power, and it's probably going
cough.
to be
Hive
The
themed,
one,
please.
yeah, Hive
Please,
themed darkness
please,
power.
please.
I would
Beg
love
you,
to see
Bungie.
it
I'm
kind of
begging you,
like
Bungie.
as opposed to Beyond Light, instead of being like starting out the campaign and almost immediately getting stasis. Whereas in Witch Queen, it's like, no, you take her out, and in taking her out, you get her power. Like the whole season, the whole expansion, you don't use that power at all. You don't get that power at all. It's your reward for succeeding. Like that, I
That
would
would be
love
cool.
to see
I would
that.
cry. I just really, 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 really want like a hive or poison-esque themed subclass for my hunter, because that just sounds really edgy, and I like the hive. I think they're cool. They're my
I agree.
favorite. They're my favorite. They're my favorite. My friend, this is kind of a random aside, but my friend literally commissioned an artist to crochet a hive worm. So I have a little hive worm plushie.
That's cool.
I love it.
It's the coolest thing. Like he's like, don't freak out. But I got you a hive worm, and I'm like, you got me a what? So yeah, I have a little like crocheted hive worm
Is
on
it
my desk, just vibing.
is it appropriately pudgy? Like,
It is. It's pretty pudgy. It's like I think it's cute. I think it's cute.
okay, yeah, no, you
I just hope that with the success of the small end, that Bungie's like, we can milk this. Let's do this kind of stuff for like all of the races, and then they have like cutesy hive stuff, cutesy cabal stuff, I guess, and somehow cutesy vex stuff. I don't know how you could make a vex
Baby
cute, but
Callus is absolutely something people would want.
oh god, that sounds so cursed. Baby callus. Oh my
baby
god.
Have
callus.
you never seen that art?
I've never
No, I
seen
have.
baby callus.
I've seen the art. It's why I'm just like, it's so cursed. It's like so funny. But yeah, I'm just hoping we could. They could also do like they could do so many. They could make a cute little ribbon. They could just do
Yeah.
raid bosses. Just make raid bosses, but they're so cute. I'd be like,
Are they still
I don't want to
doing-
kill you now because you're cute.
Do they still do the plushie line?
Mm.
Like, remember when they had all the
They-
plushies? Like I have a plushie Skolas.
No,
Yeah, no,
no.
I-
Those
no.
sold so poorly they immediately axed that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I have the Eerie Ute or Omnigul. Omnigul and Eerie Ute basically have the same model.
Yeah,
so
it's
they're
it's
basically-
on the goal.
I call it Eerie Ute, but yeah, it's basically, I have the I have Omnigul.
Get two of them.
Damn it! I should have gotten another one. Biscuits.
I have. Go on.
And then I also have the Nokris little figurine. The only reason I got that Nokris figurine was because on the box had like the symbols that were on his I guess like banners that are like chained, stabbed into him, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I needed like a high res version of that for my Hive Rune catalog.
Plus
thing.
bonus figure.
Plus a bonus figure, and I can take off his little, like he has like these
Take off
like
his hat.
fabric on his head. I can just take that off. He'd be like, no hat for you, no hat. I'm a very easily amused person, so I just go, no hat, hat, no hat, hat. I'm terrible.
I love it. I want someone to knit your little hive worm crochet them like a little cowboy hat.
Yes, I need to have one of my friends or someone who's good at crocheting just crochet a little
I'll talk
little
to
cowboy hat.
I'll talk to Kari about it.
Oh my god, that's gonna be great. That's great.
It's a little cowboy hat, like a little strap, like tied on. Should be good.
Okay.
I really think this theory has, especially as you read ahead, I really think this theory has a lot of legs. And as we've
Strong legs.
yeah, because as we've gone over, there's a lot of motivations there from all the sides, right? We went over, we started with the Vex, and then we moved on to the Hive, and we really hit on Savathun as well. And I really think as it all boils down, that at the end of the day, this is very plausibly something that would be right up her alley, like just to a T. Especially like as again having read ahead. So I'll give it a numeric score, aside from all like my praise. I'm gonna roll for it. D&D fans, I'm rolling a number of die. And we're going to give it a total score here. So
Is like a 1 a good number, or is 5 the good number?
I'm
like
gonna
it's like
give
a
it
1 to 5.
I'm gonna give
like
it.
what's the good? What's the bad?
It's score. So I'm giving it 49. I'm gonna give it 49 plausibilities. That's a good one to fall
49
back on.
plausibilities. Okay.
Just 49 total. Like that's more than I think I've ever given before.
You say this every single time because you just make up a new unit every single time.
No, I've definitely used plausibilities before.
Oh, you have? Okay. I'm just making sure.
This is at least the third time.
At least the third. Okay. Well, I give it, since it's all Vex themed and Savathun and all that stuff, I give it 49 timelines. Because talking about alternate timelines and stuff with
I like it.
what Lakshmi is saying and everything.
I like it. I like it. Do you want to give it an?
Not that that number means anything.
Do you want to give it? Do you want to give it a numeric score of arbitrary unit?
Arbitrary unit.
I'll give it 50 plausibilities.
50
Damn,
plausibilities?
dude.
Oh,
I feel like that jerk on The Price is right now. Where like I said 1, and then you went right after me and said 2.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's what happened. Oh, no.
I'm winning the car.
You're winning the car.
Like,
oh
God
no.
damn it.
And there's me in left field, all the way over here, like, sup.
we're betting numbers, and you just like drew a picture.
I drew a picture. Yes, I drew a picture of the car, saying, "See, I win because I drew the best picture." And you guys are like, "No, that's not. That's not how any of."
That's not how the game's played.
I'm playing the game wrong. Whoopsies. But yeah, no, I definitely think this theory is like pretty solid.
Absolutely. I give it. We're going to be going through these. We're going to be going through the backlog. Lucy and I, one of our plans here soon, and give them official scores.
Actual cool scores.
I can already tell you this one is going to be good.
Yee.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
mean,
definitely.
I know the season just started, but like I'm excited to see where we go next season.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like one of the first times that it's really felt like this season is just like amping up to kick off the next season.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Definitely, I agree.
And Lightfall is going to. Lightfall's next season, right?
No.
I'm thinking ahead.
No, it's not.
Well,
You're on
there's
drugs.
next season. There's next season,
Mm-hmm.
and then there
then
is potentially another season. Who knows? And then there's Witch Queen,
I think they said Witch Queen was gonna be out early
2022.
2022, which is like February.
Yeah.
Okay.
January, February-ish.
Even
It's
with
just a matter of, are they going to squeeze in another season, or are they going to extend the season? Because we have
I
one.
think they might.
Traditionally, we have one season after this season before Witch Queen, but that's a
Yeah.
lot of time.
Yeah, I guess that's fair because this goes till August, and then, so I guess it goes till the end of August, right?
Yeah.
I think. So
Yeah.
September, October, November, December, January, February. That's 6 months. I mean, yeah, they could do 2 seasons.
February.
It'd be 2
Or they
shorties or 1 long one. I bet they opt for
Or
the
one
long
long one, yeah.
That or they.
Because if it
place
was
of a
one season, then that season would both have Festival of the Lost and The Dawning.
Well, I submit they could do one regular length season and use those last 4 weeks as specific build up to the DLC. To which
Yeah, they could do that. They could do that. To have a lot of like hype stuff, kind of like how in D1 before like House of Wolves came out, you would see like the wolves are roaming on like
That was
Venus
the
or
best.
whatever.
Dude, the OG
Or, like, the-
missions when she was in the tower, Petra.
Yeah, I remember that. Don't remind me that was pain. I was new to Destiny at that time. I didn't realize that reset was on a Tuesday, and I thought it was on a Wednesday for some reason because I was stupid. And I was so excited to like go get the rest of the stuff, and Petra was gone, never to be seen ever again. And I was sad because I missed out on stuff.
That was back when she still wore a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
That was back when she looked more like a Corsair.
Yeah, her neck was longer.
That's kind of funny.
As much as they do. Man.
But yeah, no, I hope, I don't know, I didn't, like, I kind of realized, like, the season after this one was gonna be long, but it's gonna be really long.
Yeah.
I guess they could also just extend this season out a little bit to just, I don't know. We don't really know, they haven't really said what's their plan. We don't really ever really know anything until, like, a few weeks before the season drops. Like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing.
Well, even
We can
I
only
feel like
speculate.
if they're targeting like early February, I can see them just doing one like long season between.
Yeah. Kind of like how Season of Arrivals was, like, a longer...
Oh,
Yeah, they've been delaying the expansions. Like it was Shadowkeep delayed, Beyond Light delayed even more, and now Witch Queen delayed even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll just have to see, I think. I mean, I'm fine for having longer seasons, because that just kind of gives me... I don't have to, like, rush through at the beginning of the season and be like, oh man, I gotta do this, like 20 bajillion things.
Yeah. I especially appreciate how they handle it this season for the raid, even though the raid isn't part of the story.
Yeah.
Legacy content. I really liked that if you had, you know, 1300, you were already at like yes, you can raid. Just go do it, enjoy it, have fun. As opposed to like, I need to grind Wicked for like 15 days without sleep just to get my light level up 20 points.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked that change too. It was really nice.
Yeah, 100%. So guys, you got any shout outs?
Shout outs.
Yeah,
oh
Lacey, you
man,
got any
I'm always
shout
bad
outs?
at this part.
Do you want to go next?
I guess I'll go second. Go
Okay.
second.
Okay. Anon, our guest, my man. Got any shout outs?
No.
No. Just,
Awesome.
Nah, I'm good. That's
Awesome.
funny. That's funny.
I love. I think that's the first time anyone was like, pass.
Yeah.
Just like,
I don't know what the hell I would shout out.
no, I'm always the same way. I always am just like,
Okay.
I guess shout out.
I got one. Watch Camp Cretaceous on Netflix.
I can dig it. Is that the Jurassic Park one?
Yeah, Jurassic World.
I can dig it.
It's the
Ooh.
best. It's the best title under the Jurassic World umbrella, and that's not a very high bar, but it's a good show.
I like it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I'll have to go check that out then.
It's great. It's especially great if you have kids. Watch it with your kids.
I can dig it.
That's funny. I'll watch it with my little brother.
Nice.
Be like, hey bro, let's go watch about dinosaurs. And he'll be like, okay, sure. Can't go wrong with dinosaurs, man.
I like that that's all he needs. He's like, you had me at dino.
You had me at dinosaurs. Exactly. Why do you think the dinosaur armor won for the Festival of the Lost? Because people love dinosaurs.
Oh shit, we're getting that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm super hyped.
Dinosaur armor! I'm pumped. I love dinosaurs. They're great.
I want
Team
to
Dino.
be a raptor. It would be
Team
fun.
Dino. But anyways,
Mhm,
okay.
I was
My
Team Dino.
shout out, I guess, is to... So,
You can do
this
it.
is gonna sound dumb, but I guess my shout out is to my friends, I guess. My group of friends I have. That we've been, like, really on top of, like, doing all of, like, the raids and everything together. And... it's just been so fun, like, actually, like, having, like, a consistent team to raid with, instead of, like, crap, I gotta go on LFG again. Because going on LFG as a girl, not fun at
Yeah, that
all.
sucks.
0 out of 10, do not recommend. But yeah. I guess shout out to my friends for being really chill and spamming memes in the meme chat that we have. It's so stupid. Like, I shared a really stupid, my partner shared with me a really stupid video that then I put in the group chat, and now everyone keeps quoting the video, and I feel like I just unleashed chaos, and I'm just like, what have I done? It's so bad.
No. As someone who's been added to the meme chats, they're fun.
They're fun. They're pretty fun. Like,
there was a whole spam
we
about
keep
cheese.
jokingly saying, so with all of the Atheon glitches or cheeses, we've jokingly said we're just gonna build a giant grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh.
Because of how many different cheese. Like, there's the cheese where you can have the raid banner still give you super. There's the cheese for starting the encounter with him at, like, basically 1% health. And all this other, like, you can have the damage phase last forever. There's all these stupid cheeses. And I just think adding them all together makes a giant grilled cheese sandwich. So now everyone keeps saying, add cheese, add cheese, add cheese, add cheese. And I'm just like, oh no, what have I done?
It's been pretty hilarious.
It's made raiding a lot of fun. I feel like I'm just with a bunch of, like, I'm herding cats, honestly.
Which speaking of raiding, Anon, have you seen the thing, the one cheese for Atheon where basically anyone who went to the Venus or left side before in the previous encounter, so the gatekeeper, if before you shoot the orb, if they like die, they can respawn back in the Venus or left side where Atheon sits before the encounter starts, and you can just
you can do damage to him and you can kill him, and then it counts. It's so dumb.
How would you feel about Guardians going back in time to kill Atheon before the encounter starts as a canon way to complete the encounter?
My God, we broke time.
We used the Vex network against itself.
I mean, that's how it's always been, right?
Exactly. See,
it's always been
you're right.
Countless timelines of Guardians all shooting Atheon at the same time, and that's why we were actually strong enough to beat him.
I love it.
Great.
Which is fitting for like the first raid boss, but then after that, when you just keep killing them, it's like, okay, well, what did you do this time, Wolf? This time.
Yeah.
This time we used a sword of his own making, which he's weak to. It's like, okay, well, what about the next one? It's like, well, the next one we starved his worm, and then his worm ate him. It's like, okay, what about the next one? It's like, well, the next one, he was just a robot, so we just beat him up.
We pushed him off the side.
Could you push off Axis?
I don't think we did, no.
Oh, I know, maybe you couldn't.
He was a dark drinker.
Yeah.
Dark drinker and super.
Right.
Darker. Spin to win, sword go burr.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, no, I was having Zelda flashbacks, the amount of spin to win that was used. I can dig it. My shout out is I'm just gonna give a Trans Lives Matter. Just gonna throw that out there. Haven't said it in a few episodes, but it didn't stop being true. So saying it again. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. So Anand, thank you so much again for joining us. I really appreciate you having you back on the show, and as always, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same.
Definitely, I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, with that, everyone. Oh, and this has gotten to the longer one range again. That's always a good sign.
Whoops.
No, it's okay. We go till question marks. We just have a ballpark in case we feel like it's going downhill. So. This did not happen here. This was great. With that, everyone, please stay safe. There's been a lot of there's been bullshit around the world. abroad and here in the United States, and people are losing their lives. So just do me a favor, stay safe. Join us again next week. And with that, bye-bye. See you next time.
Toodles. That's the end of this week's topic, but be sure to check out our past and future episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. If you have any questions about this week's topic, want to discuss Destiny lore with us, or just feel like reaching out, you can find us on Twitter at Spinfoil Theory, or you can email us via spinfoiltheory@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Toodles!
It's so wild. So wild.
I just want to say, if I cut out a storm just kind of hit, there's been a lot of lightning and thunder, so
Oh,
kind of
jeez.
Oh yeah.
like, oh shit, my power might go out.
No worries. We have options. This is a versatile, non-live platform, so we can make it
Yeah,
work.
I just wanted to give you the heads up. I'm not just bailing on you. It's just my power went out if anything happens.
This theory sucks.